Many of you may have heard the news that YouTube has issued a community guidelines strike to Steven Crowder. He did his live show on his website earlier this morning. The purge is real. The attempts by big tech, the establishment, and corporate powers to create a monoculture is very real. Don't believe me? Well, I've got some evidence for you. So this is the kind of story that you should share with people to let them know a few simple arguments. Donald Trump received 74.2 million votes. 74.2. More votes than any sitting president in the history of this country. He didn't win. Joe Biden got more. A lot of people did not like Donald Trump. That's true. But of those 74.2 million people, I would imagine they liked what Trump had to say. Now, that being the case, Facebook and Instagram have removed an interview with Donald Trump with his daughter-in-law, where he signaled he will run for president in 2024, said Biden didn't know where the hell he was when he fell down the stairs. They removed it. They said the voice of the former president is not allowed. Now, we don't say former president. We say President Trump. We say President Obama. President Trump, 45th president of the United States, a very important and prominent historical figure, is not allowed to speak. These platforms will remove him. Now, I will say part of it is Trump's fault. He absolutely could have joined any of these other platforms and they would have massively grown. It would have displaced big tech, but he didn't do it. So it's partly his fault because we're all responsible for ourselves. But you can clearly see the manipulation. It was not that long ago. Right Side Broadcasting Network. They simply filmed Donald Trump giving a speech. It was removed by YouTube and they received a strike. Facebook and Instagram have said that they will not allow Donald Trump to speak. 74.2 million people. Listen, we talk sometimes on this show, on the IRL podcast, about Second Civil War and what that really means. And these leftists, they try to use the most insane interpretation of what that really means. Now, some people have simply said every 4 years we go through some kind of civil war, and it's been that way for some time, going back to the actual civil war in this country. And maybe that's a fair way to put it. But what happens when it starts getting more and more extreme, crazier and crazier? At what point do we actually say this is a cold civil war or psychological civil war, information war? I did not originate the idea. There was a Princeton professor. There were many mainstream news sources. But I will tell you this. When 74.2 million people are not allowed to hear from the man they voted for, we get very serious problems. We're also learning something else really interesting. YouTube is testing removing the dislike button. Now, you may be thinking, what does this have to do with Donald Trump and with what's going on? Well, when Donald Trump speaks, he's overwhelmingly getting thumbs up. When Steven Crowder does his show, overwhelmingly thumbs up. On my channels, 99.9% of the time, thumbs up. But, look, I have some lefty opinions, and sometimes I'll get like 90% or 85%. Sometimes it'll be a bit lower because I talk about what I feel like talking about. Not everybody likes it. But YouTube is not a liberal space, which means when Joe Biden does his speeches, not only does he get no viewership relative to Trump or me, I guess, he gets thumbs down into oblivion. Now, some people have speculated that it was because of the Biden administration YouTube is planning on doing this. I don't know that that's true. There's certainly no proof that it's true. However, it is true, according to PolitiFact, that YouTube has removed dislikes from Joe Biden videos in the past, claiming it was illegitimate. Really? Could it be that Joe Biden has the ears of the uninitiated and low information voters, people who don't watch videos, people who don't watch the news, and just flow with the tides? I think the removal of Donald Trump's interview is terrifying. Look, I understand everyone's like, Steven Crowder's getting banned. Really, really bad stuff. Because Crowder is not Milo. He is not Alex Jones. And they shouldn't have been banned either, by the way. Well, there's some arguments we had about Milo putting up, that he was a BuzzFeed reporter or something like that. But in terms of opinions and being trolls, you give a right to do it. I think many of these platforms are made awful by awful people. I'm not specifically referring to anybody, I'm not referring to anybody in particular. I'm just saying, Twitter and Facebook and YouTube have their share of really nasty people who say nasty things and make things generally awful. But If people want to hear from a former president, this is unprecedented levels of censorship. Let's read this story from the Daily Mail. They say, Facebook and Instagram have removed Donald Trump's interview with his daughter-in-law Laura, in another sign of the left-leaning Silicon Valley giant canceling the former president and censoring any mention of him. The social media giant sent an email to Laura saying video had been blocked because he is still banned from the platforms, and the clip featured President Trump speaking and the voice of Donald Trump. Are you not allowed to interview people anymore? Even I was allowed to have Alex Jones on my podcast. Allowed. Isn't that a funny way to phrase it? I spoke with Google and I was like, we're going to have Alex Jones on the show. And they said, that's okay. That's absolutely allowed. He just can't have his own channel. I said, okay. All right, there you go. They still took the video down and gave us a warning. You do it again, we're going to give you a strike. I immediately said, come back on the show, because I'm not going to stand up for that censorship. Facebook and Instagram won't even let someone interview Donald Trump. He didn't make the video. Laura did. They say the clip was taken down after Trump tore into social media and the mainstream media for suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story before he launched into a diatribe of President Biden's green agenda, which was more liberal and more radical than Bernie Sanders ever had in mind. No, that's not correct. Trump is wrong. Bernie Sanders is absolutely radical, but I get the point he's trying to make. And he's trying to speak in harsh, hyperbolic rhetoric, even like Joe Biden. They say he also railed against cancel culture and the woke mob's obliteration of U.S. culture, particularly on social media. Now, these things I agree with Trump on. My friends, we are not dealing with, oh, no, it's just a community guidelines violation. You can't say a certain name on any social media. They will remove the post outright. It's creepy. You can't give certain political opinions. The president, former president, isn't allowed to speak. These big companies are working in tandem with each other, with a political party, to subvert our democratic institutions. The Hunter Biden laptop story is true. The New York Times said it was true. And it's shocking to me that they admit it. Why not just maintain the lie and ignore it? No, they can't do it. For some reason, before the election, Twitter suppressed the sharing of a story, even in private messages. Facebook said they were reducing its visibility. It was from a mainstream publication, the New York Post. Not allowed. After the election, the New York Times came out and said, oh, that stuff, it's all true. But the election had already happened. This is happening. They're doing this. I believe if the Hunter Biden laptop story was not suppressed, Trump would have won. He would have gotten over the edge. He would have gotten a boost. But keeping people ignorant is how the Democrats win. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear it. And a lot of people are saying, oh, here he comes. He's biased. He loves the Republicans. I hate the Republicans. The Republican Party. I think they're trash. I think they don't do anything. I think there's a small handful of people that are all right. I think there are some Democrats that are all right. But for the most part, you got a decent amount of Republicans I think are okay, namely like Rand Paul. He's a libertarian. This is what they do. They want low information voters. They want 16-year-olds to vote. They want everybody to just vote. And that's, to a certain degree, okay. We want people to vote. We want people to participate. But the Democrats particularly exploit the ignorant to gain power. I'd love it if everyone voted. Every single person. You want to lower the voting age to 16? Actually, I'm okay with that. They should have the right to own guns and enter into contracts and all that stuff. But if you want to do that, I'm fine, as long as these people are being properly informed of their rights and responsibilities. The Democrats aren't doing that. They're dropping letters in mailboxes. There you go. You can vote by mail. And what this means is that people who normally don't care and don't want to be involved just are pressured into being involved in something they don't know or care about. I don't think that's good for us. It's eroding everything. And these big tech companies are seemingly doing everything in their power to make sure that we can't hear these ideas. This is scary stuff, man. They say it was a 74-year-old's first on-screen interview since losing to Biden in the general election and leaving D.C. under the cloud of the Capitol Hill riots. During the 18-minute interview, Trump talked about how Joe Biden didn't know where the hell he was when he fell down the stairs on Air Force One and how boring Twitter had become without him. He was asked whether his supporters could hope he will run for president again. He replied, "You do have hope. That I can tell you. You do have hope. We love our country, this country. We all owe a lot to our country, but now we have to help our country." Trump also criticized The situation at the border, pointing to the fact that many crossing the Rio Grande have explicitly stated that Biden was the reason they made the journey north. Look at our borders. Look what's happening, Trump said. We have the best southern border that we've ever had in one day, everybody come up. And what's going on now is something compared to what's going to take place during the summer. Trump also criticized the situation at the border, pointing to the fact that many crossing the Rio Grande had explicitly stated that Biden was the reason they made the journey. I think they accidentally repeated that over the Daily Mail. Let me show you this. Let me show you what's going on at the administrative level, at the functional level of YouTube. Likes and dislikes matter, my friends. So if you like this podcast, if you like my show, please smash that like button. No joke. I should probably say it more often because it really does have an impact. YouTube is testing hiding dislike counts to stop targeted campaigns against creators and protect their well-being. Okay, they're not going to get rid of the dislike button. They're just going to get rid of the number so you don't know if people dislike it. Now, admittedly, I'm not entirely opposed to this. I think there's actually a good reason to do this. And I think they should get rid of the like counter as well. There's no reason for people to see those numbers. And perhaps they should get rid of the view counter as well. There's no reason to have that publicly displayed. I suppose people like it. Triggers a dopamine release when they look at that number. We can keep all that stuff on the back end. But why are they doing this? Well, some people believe they're going to hide the dislike button because it's making people realize that Joe Biden, among those who are active on social media and watch the news, is not popular. Among low information voters, Biden's the most popular president in history. But these people are not engaged in civics for the most part. And that's scary. It could actually be a bit simple that many of the people who vote for Biden are those who would, say, watch MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, etc. And so they don't interact with the news. They just absorb it. Whereas those who liked Donald Trump were those who interacted with news and commented on things and posted on things. Not all of those people are conservatives. There are many progressives who have very large channels and get decent interaction and a good thumbs up. But it's interesting. There's a poll that shows liberals get 95% of their news from liberal sources and only 5% from conservative sources. Moderates get 60% of their news, 66% from liberal sources and 33% from conservative sources. And conservatives get 33% of their news from liberal sources, but 66% from conservative sources. It's possible that the narratives they follow shape their worldview. However, most importantly, conservatives do watch liberal news. Conservatives do watch what Joe Biden has to say. But even the people who voted for Joe Biden don't watch what he has to say. So when he gets a very low view count and all the conservatives are like, I don't like what he's saying. Well, it's bad for Biden. It's bad for the White House. Breaks confidence. So YouTube, interestingly, announced they're going to do this. Now, some people, like I said, there was some rumor going around that Joe Biden was involved in this process. I don't know if that's true. And honestly, I got to say, I don't think it is. I think that's misinformation. I really doubt Joe Biden's like calling up, or his administration's calling up YouTube, like these dislikes on our channel, we got to get rid of them. And so YouTube makes this move. However, YouTube has removed dislikes from Joe Biden videos in the past. Don't take my word for it. From PolitiFact, did YouTube remove dislikes from a video posted by Biden White House? January 20th, they say, or that's a photo. This is from January 25th. Hours after President Joe Biden was sworn into office, January 20th, Press Secretary Jen Psaki gave the administration's first White House media briefing. A video of the briefing was posted on the official White House YouTube channel. As social media users scrutinized the video, some started circulating claims on Facebook suggesting that YouTube was suppressing the negative feedback to it. One post showed a Gateway Pundit headline that said, YouTube caught red-handed removing dislikes from Biden White House page. Anything to fool the proletariat. The post was flagged as part of Facebook's effort to combat false news and misinformation on its newsfeed. The post is accompanied by images purporting to be screenshots of the briefing video. One image, which appeared to have been taken from a phone at 3:11 p.m., showed the video had been disliked 10,000 times using YouTube's comment icons. The second, which appeared to have been taken at 7:31 p.m., was nearly identical, but showed the video had been disliked only 3,100 times. The Gateway Pundit article said, this is more evidence of how the tech giants do anything they can to assist their ideological allies while they censor and delete conservative content and voices. The claim, bolstered by screenshots, quickly picked up steam on other right-wing blogs. So did YouTube remove thousands of dislikes from a video posted by the Biden administration? It's possible. But the posts on Facebook are missing one important context about how YouTube handles likes and dislikes on its videos. And they don't offer any evidence that YouTube did so improperly or for political reasons. Yes, PolitiFact, that's called an opinion. You see how that works? YouTube told PolitiFact that it has systems in place to ensure that engagements with videos, such as likes and dislikes, are authentic, so that analytics information it provides is reliable. Those systems worked as designed to remove spam engagement on the video, according to YouTube. The de-spamming process starts when a video is uploaded and continues to run to ensure metrics remain accurate. In 2019, The Verge reported that YouTube considered removing the dislike button from its videos entirely in an effort to stop so-called dislike mobs. YouTube's verified account on Twitter also addressed the issue, saying YouTube regularly removes any spam likes or dislikes from your videos. It may take up to 48 hours for the numbers to be updated. Another said, "We always validate the activities and legitimacy of accounts added on your likes and dislikes report. This is to make sure that our site metrics are free of spam." Okay, well, let's be reasonable people here. Maybe it really was spam. I mean, Joe Biden wasn't getting that many views anyway, so who are these people disliking it? Maybe YouTube says these are fake dislikes from bots and they removed them. Okay, they removed them from a Joe Biden video. These instances that we see may be only highlighted because Joe Biden is higher profile and the White House is higher profile than most other channels. But you don't often hear stories about this getting fact-checked. It could just be out of sight, out of mind, or it could be that YouTube has stated they have a policy on maintaining the legitimacy and confidence in the presidency and the government, and these mass dislikes don't help that. Let me show you a story from Media Post. Former Google software engineer claims YouTube erasing dislikes for Biden video. A Google software engineer, Zach Voorhees, former senior software engineer at Google and YouTube, now self-proclaimed whistleblower, has started his own investigation into disappearing dislikes for a Joe Biden video. The videos were uploaded, so this we all know. Voorhees' post on Twitter set off a firestorm of followers on several platforms, including Gab, where Texas vet posted similar images of the number. So this is what they were talking about in PolitiFact. PolitiFact outright says, if your time is short, YouTube may have removed spam dislikes from a video posted by the White House after President Joe Biden took office. So is it possible that once again, YouTube is taking action specifically for the Biden administration? I'm not saying at their behest. I'm saying they went in to the Biden video and removed dislikes. Could it be that there are people who are staging some kind of digital false flag and disliking the video to make it look like there's a spam campaign or something? Listen, I'm not going to get conspiratorial. The simple solution is that people on YouTube don't like Joe Biden, and they give videos from Biden in the White House thumbs down. It's not just now this is happening. They do it all the time. So I will say, I don't trust YouTube when they tell me what they're doing or why they're doing it. I don't see why all of a sudden the left chooses to. When we see these stories where it's like, Steven Crowder didn't violate the rules on hate speech, and the left freaks out saying, but he clearly was engaging in hate speech. So you don't trust YouTube? And then when they tell you what they're doing, you say, but this one's true. Right. When it benefits you, it must be true. No. I don't trust YouTube when they take down Crowder. I don't trust YouTube when they claim their spam dislikes. All I know is they did remove them. They say they do. So what now? Look, I don't know if there's anyone intentionally doing it. I do think there are people in Silicon Valley and Google who are extremely biased. I have been invited to their critical race theory meetings. I have been in like 3 or 4 different meetings at Google about critical race theory. And I wonder what the deal was where they thought for some reason for years that I was some like woke leftist. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they just wanted to hear what I had to say, I suppose. I literally was in like private closed door meetings about social justice issues and giving them my thoughts. Numerous occasions over the past several years. Not so much in the past several years, but several years before the past several years. So like 2015, 2016, I had been to Google offices many times. I used to go to the New York office rather frequently. I don't know what they're doing. I do know they have a bias, and I do know that there is a cult sweeping across the landscape in this country to the point where a former president with 74.2 million votes can't even post to social media to express his views and what he thinks. What's going to happen to these 74 million people? They won't just cease to exist. Perhaps these people in these big tech companies and news media and corporate press and corporations believe out of sight, out of mind. If you just remove the dissenters, eventually people will only focus on certain ideas. And maybe that's true. But if that is the case, they're certainly going about it way too fast. Getting rid of Trump right after he leaves office with 74.2 million people scratching their heads is going to make the fissures in this country worse. It's not going to make these people wake up one day and be like, I'm going to go listen to Rachel Maddow now. It's only going to get worse. Removing Steven Crowder will only make things worse. When they ban these conservatives, and I mean it for Crowder, and he goes to other platforms, people will find a way to access these platforms. YouTube will lose mass viewership. And I'll tell you one thing, I know for a fact, if Crowder gets nuked off YouTube, a lot of people are going to leave the platform like they did with Patreon, and it's going to negatively impact everyone else, including myself. YouTube surely must know that, but they are pushing as hard and as fast as possible. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because they don't plan for this. Maybe because they don't know or they don't care. But I tell you this right now. The idea that a former president can't speak to the country is horrifying. I mean, Obama went around doing speeches, writing his book, doing his thing. He posted to social media, still does. And they say, oh, but Trump is dangerous. You know what's dangerous? Telling 74.2 million people that their voices don't matter. That's dangerous. This stuff freaks me out, man. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.